Markey in Blunt, Rochester. Is she here?
On our way.
On her way. We have Tiernan Sittenfeld of the League of Conservation Voters, Dean Warch of the Greater IBEW Electricians, and Brad Van Wert, the Montana Renewable Energy Coalition. So I want to thank everybody for being here. Look, one of the greatest accomplishments we had in the Congress, the last Congress, was getting the best pro-environmental bill ever passed through the Congress and signed into law. And one of the mainstays of those provisions was tax credits for clean energy. Tax credits for wind, tax credits for solar, tax credits for hydro, you name it. We put it in there to help clean energy grow. And it was hugely successful. Originally, we estimated it would be about $370 billion would use the tax credits, but it's now close to $1 trillion. And solar and wind and clean energy are among the fastest growing energy components. We say we need more energy in America. The quickest and best way to get it, the cheapest way to get it, is clean energy. Plain and simple. And yet, what has happened is this. The House has sent us a bill that kills the program. This is not just a haircut. This is not just a trim. This is death, with a dagger through the heart by the provisions they put in the dark of night, at the last minute. Most House Republicans didn't even know what was going on. And yet these provisions, if passed, would basically end clean energy. You all know what they are, but just listen to the perfidy of this one. If you don't have a new project in the ground 60 days after the bill passes, you get no credits. If you had any relationship in any way with China, even decades ago, you get no credits. By all estimates, it would kill the bill. So what does this mean? Why does the American people care about this so much? Well, one, it's going to raise their costs dramatically. And we just got new estimates today. We thought originally it would cost Americans about $32 billion on their household energy bills. We've gotten a new estimate that it's much, much worse, unfortunately, $170 billion. It's the new modeling that has come out from one of the most respected modelers. Where's Tim? Called Energy Innovation. And they've been our lodestar for a long time. $170 billion to keep your lights on. Isn't that incredible? Electricity bills would go up more than 10% next year. In some states, Republican states, Kansas, Missouri, South Carolina, they'd go up 15%. And if you live in Kentucky, you can pay $860 more a year. So that's the cost. Second, the jobs. We estimate there are 850,000 clean energy, good-paying jobs in this bill. Gone. Gone. That's a load of jobs, and about 70% of them are in red states. So this is not a Democratic or Republican issue. This is an American issue. And third, if you wanted to write a law that surrenders American independence and energy independence to the Chinese Communist Party and to the Chinese government, this is it. Look no further than this bill. China's gaining in solar, wants to dominate. If we cut off all solar production, China will dominate, and our children and grandchildren, and even many of us, will be at China's whim. China will have a grip on our energy policy. It will be outrageous. Outrageous. And so why did all this happen? How could they be so bad? The reason they're making these cuts is they want tax breaks for billionaires. It's outrageous. Outrageous. And a small group in the House, led by Chip Roy, these are not even mainstream energy producers. These are not the Exxons or the Chevrons who have an all-of-the-above policy, but rather the hard right people who made a fortune hitting oil or gas in the Permian Basin, the Anadarko Basin, etc. They hate clean energy like a religion. It's not even policy for them. They hate it like a religion because they know clean energy is the future and fossil fuels are the past. And soon enough, fossil fuels, just by market mechanisms, will be replaced by clean energy. I have spent so much time, all 24/7, fighting this since it came out. We're working with unions. We're working with utilities. We're working with tech companies who know they need more energy for AI. We're working with everyone we can, the big producers of the jobs, and sending the message out to our Republican colleagues: change this bill. It's horrible for consumers. It's horrible for jobs. It's horrible for American independence with China. We're going to fight this, and believe we have a good chance of succeeding in at least modifying and maybe even killing the awful provisions in the House bill. With that, let me call on Senator Whitehouse.
Thank you, Chuck. And let me thank Chuck Schumer for the intensity of his leadership on this issue. When he says that he and his team are on this 24/7, he is not kidding. And it's a New York 24/7. It's a hard-working 24/7. So I'm really grateful for the effort that Team Schumer is putting in. We have to face the fact that the anti-clean energy provisions of this bill are the product of corruption run amok. In the wake of Citizens United, the fossil fuel industry succeeded at a hostile takeover of the Republican Party. And now, owning all three branches, Senate, House, and all the political branches and the White House, they have essentially gone berserk. The problem that they ignore is that after 15 years of blocking clean energy legislation, bipartisan clean energy legislation that could have solved this problem, we're now into the era of consequences. We're into the consequences that the scientists predicted 20, 30, 40 years ago. It is happening now. And it is happening first in insurance and mortgage markets. Look no further than the meltdown in Florida. So in addition to the $170 billion increase in electric bills, in addition to the loss of millions of jobs, there is also this looming catastrophe as insurance and mortgage markets melt down in the face of climate upheaval. It's not just me who is saying this. Fed Chair Powell came to the Banking Committee just 6 weeks ago to say 10 to 15 years, whole regions of the country, no mortgages left because of this problem. The chief economist for Freddie Mac has been warning for years of the climate meltdown leads to insurance meltdown, leads to mortgage meltdown, leads to property values crash, leads to recession. He started saying that about coastal risk that Eddie Markey and I face, particularly up in New England. But now you got the wildfire risk that they're seeing in Montana that is just as severe to set this cascade in motion. So there is an enormous storm ahead of us, and any good captain should pay attention to real warnings of real storms. And we're not paying attention because of the influence of the fossil fuel industry, and the cost to American consumers will be extremely, extremely grave. With that, I think I turn it over to Eddie Markey.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you,
my
Sheldon.
New England colleague.
Thank you, Sheldon, and thank you for all of your great work. I want to thank Chuck as well. Chuck is spending so much time and energy on this. He's become like a perpetual motion machine. But by the way,
It's clean energy.
it's clean energy, and you would qualify for the tax break as a new energy source. That's how much energy you have thrown into this effort, Chuck. So we thank you for everything that you are doing. Couple of numbers. One, last year in the United States, 94% of all new installed electrical generation capacity was wind, solar, and batteries. Let me repeat that. In 2024, in the United States of America, 94% of all new installed electrical generation capacity was wind, solar, and battery, meaning the revolution is on. It's working. It's creating jobs by the hundreds of thousands all across our country. Union jobs, IBEW jobs, jobs for workers who have not just jobs but careers for the next generation in installing this clean energy future for our country. The Republicans are planning on gutting all of these tax breaks. That's what came out of the House of Representatives. Why are they doing it? They're doing it for the natural gas industry. The natural gas industry wants to kill the offshore wind industry because that will provide a source of electricity all along the East Coast, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, New York, all the way down to Virginia. Even as we have the tax breaks that will wind up with an installation of all of those new energy sources. The AI industry, by some estimates, is going to lead to a doubling of the electricity demand in our country over the next 10 years. We're going to need wind and solar. We're going to need battery storage technologies for the future. Otherwise, if the natural gas industry has its way, we will only have natural gas, and there won't be enough of it because they are now exporting massive amounts of it overseas in LNG, and the prices for consumers are going to spike. They're going to continue to rise and rise and rise because of that fossil fuel agenda. So what we need is, we need the jobs by the hundreds of thousands and eventually millions that will be created. And there'll be union jobs. We need the reduction in greenhouse gases because, as Senator Whitehouse said, the planet's running a fever. There are no emergency rooms for planets. We have to put the preventative care in place or else it will be unlivable in many parts of our country. And third, we must honor our obligation to the next generation of young people. They should not have to bear the responsibility of what this generation did. So that's the responsibility which we have, and we just have to make sure we discharge it. And we're going to try to find Republicans. We're going to work with Republicans on a common sense basis because 80% of all of the funding so far has gone to red states. 80% of the jobs, 80% of the funding. And I think common sense solutions can be found, and that is what we are trying to accomplish. Now let me turn and introduce our great Senator, Lisa Blunt Rochester from Delaware.
Thank you, Senator. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Leader Schumer, and to my colleagues and our ranking member, Whitehouse. I'm a member of the Environment and Public Works Committee, and so I am grateful to be here. But I'm also a member of the Health Committee, Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions. And I think this bill really does encompass everything that we deal with, whether it's healthcare or whether it's the economy or whether it's our environment. And I want to just take one moment to pause and think about the historic passage of the Inflation Reduction Act. The people behind me and around us help make that possible. Investments that really do touch each and every one of us and prepare us for the future. And so what this fight is about, let me be blunt. That's my name. Let me be blunt. What this fight is really about, it is about people, our constituents who are writing into us and saying, my energy costs are too high. We fought to get energy efficiency and things in that bill that would lower the cost of goods for people, but also lower their energy costs. This bill is bad for people. This bill is bad for people who are trying to live their purpose and who are working incredible jobs. Labor, jobs. Delaware is in the house. That's right. Matter of fact, my name is Lisa Blunt Rochester. Matter of fact, we always say you can't spell labor without LBR. Labor, this is about jobs. Hundreds of thousands of jobs are at risk because of this big bad bill. This bill is also about our planet. Without the planet, it is all a moot point. What are we talking about? And so the message is very simple. We want people to know that across the spectrum, across party lines, this bill is bad for the American people. And I don't think I knew he was coming to the press conference here.
I'm not. I'm going to go get lunch.
But I'm going to point out our former chairman, Senator Tom Carper from the great state of Delaware, who worked hard to ensure that we passed that historic investment in our planet and our climate and in our jobs and our economy. And I will, again, just close with, these are uncertain times. But I stand here not just as the former Secretary of Labor under Tom Carper, not just as a member of the Environment and Public Works Committee, but also as a mother and a grandmother. We are fighting for our planet. We are fighting for our people. We are fighting for jobs because this moment demands it. And so my message to you is kill this bill.
Well done. All right. Next we have Tiernan Sittenfeld of LCV, League of Conservation Voters.
Thank you so much, Leader Schumer. Thank you, Senators Whitehouse, Markey, and Lisa Blunt, Rochester. And of course, I don't know if he's still here, but thank you, Senator Carper, for your incredible leadership. We are really honored to be here with you today on this very hot day. It's a hot summer day in the nation's capital. I am Tiernan Sittenfeld with the League of Conservation Voters, and also really glad to be here with many colleagues, organizers and advocates and activists from the Climate Action Campaign, from Climate Power, from other environmental organizations, of course with our friends in labor. And we are also here to say, kill this bill. This House-passed abomination of a bill is lose, lose, lose for the American people. It is bad for families, it is bad for workers, it is bad for businesses, it is bad for states across the country, and it is bad for the planet. Why? All for the sake of massive tax breaks for billionaires. This big, ugly bill would kill jobs, it would raise energy costs on families and businesses already struggling, it would hurt the reliability of the grid and threaten our air, our water, our lands, and our health with more pollution. Senator Schumer referenced the new analysis from Energy Innovation that is just out today that shows that this big, ugly bill will kill 840,000 clean energy jobs by 2030 and another 790,000 jobs by 2035. That is staggering, that is horrifying, that is absolutely unacceptable. He also, of course, mentioned the total costs on American families and their energy bills. That would boil down to the average annual household energy bill for families going up $262. In some states, it would be much, much higher. People cannot afford this. We cannot afford this. At a time when we are all worried about rising energy costs, we simply cannot afford to ban clean energy. We cannot stop people from making their own clean energy choices. Now is the time to produce more clean energy, not less, to drive down these costs. I also want to note that eliminating these clean energy investments would leave the electric grid weaker and more vulnerable at a time when we need it most. We have all seen what happens because of the climate crisis getting worse. From severe heat to ice storms to other extreme weather, thousands of people then lose power, people's lives are put at risk, and businesses lose millions of dollars. So now, more than ever, we need to protect these clean energy investments that are already creating good-paying jobs, saving people money, and protecting our health, our air, our water, our lands, and so much more. So thank you again for the incredible leadership of all these senators. And now I am so happy to turn it to Dean Warsh from IBEW, and let's kill this big, ugly bill.
Before Dean takes over, the IBEW, I want to say two things. One, the IBEW has been great in so many of the states mobilizing their workers. But second, I just want to convey through you the condolences. I called Kenny Cooper last night. He's the great leader of the IBEW, and he lost his mom.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator Schumer, and everyone for inviting me here to speak on behalf of the 860,000 highly skilled electrical workers of the IBEW. The saying goes, we keep the lights on, but the IBEW does much more than that. Whether it's power plants or power lines, solar panels or the Super Bowl, the IBEW is committed to keeping the country running, often in the most fundamentally dangerous jobs there are. IBEW members belong to a long history of providing electricity we rely on. They have been at the forefront of every energy revolution since the dawn of electricity, including the one transforming our country today. Clean energy is the only way to meet skyrocketing demand for electricity we are facing. Estimates show a staggering 25% more electricity needed in the next 10 years, and up to 80% more by 2050. What's driving this surge? One of the items we probably used this week or this morning, AI. Depending on who you ask, ChatGPT uses anywhere from 5 to 10 times the energy of a standard Google search. This is transforming how we use and how we create electricity. Solar fields, wind turbines, and data centers are of the size of football fields are popping up all over this country. Investing in every form of domestic clean energy is how we establish energy security, so we can answer the demands of the 21st century without depending on America's adversaries. But the current version of the GOP tax bill shuts down this much needed development, canceling $500 billion in private investments. This will wipe out over 2 million jobs nationwide and tens of thousands of good IBEW jobs. Family sustaining, community building, economy boosting union jobs. These investments in Americans are what we are talking about. Regular, hardworking Americans that were cut out of the tax bill to make room for the tax breaks for the rich. It just doesn't add up unless you're a billionaire. For the rest of America, this bill is a direct assault on good jobs their communities can't survive without. Right now, just the threat of gutting the IRA tax credits has paused billions in project investments that were already underway. These tax credits are more than just policy. They are investments in working families, climate resilience, and our future as a nation. Holding on to these investments is just common sense. They have already sparked historic job growth, putting skilled workers like IBEW members in careers that build life-changing generational stability that all Americans deserve. Cutting these tax credits will shrink the number of young people who benefit from good union careers. It'll shrink paychecks of the workers who build our cities and our towns, and it will shrink the local economies of those same communities. Every project that is abandoned because of this bill is a good job cut short, a retirement delayed, and a future held back for the benefit of billionaires who do not need Congress's help. But working Americans do, and thankfully, it's not too late for responsible leadership. Defending these tax credits is how the Senate can protect the voters that elected them, preserve the progress that's already underway, and demonstrate with their action that their priority is the American worker. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Our last speaker is Brad Van Wert of the Montana Renewable Energy Association. Brad.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you for having us here today. And as we've heard, we're talking about clean energy, but what we're really talking about is more energy in a time when we need every electron we can find. Distributed generation and solar projects are some of the quickest to come online, and that's incredibly important at this time right now. What we need to do in Montana, our industry represents 1,000 good-paying careers, and many of those are on the chopping block overnight if this bill were to pass. We need to protect those jobs. This industry is part of the fabric of Montana's economy. It affects not just our careers and workers, but also it affects engineers and architects and all of the other people working adjacent to this industry. And the jobs that we're creating, the careers that we are training into, they are there to build out America's energy future now and our future tomorrow. So we need to protect these jobs, and we need to do the best that we can to ensure that we have this strong, resilient industry today and in our future. Thank you.
Brad. Okay. We'll take questions on this subject only, because we got to hurry. Yes, yes, and yes. That's it.
Thank you, Leader. Have you gotten any commitments, anything concrete from Chair Crapo or anybody else on the Senate Republican side
Yeah,
regarding?
we have a group, some of whom are here. Eddie's part. All the people who are here are part of it. Of 7 or 8 Democrats who are talking to their Republican colleagues who they have close relationships with. We have the unions talking to a lot of the folks. We have the energy providers talking to the folks, the clean energy companies, and we're getting some vibes that people realize this bill went too far, and we're hoping they can all go together to John Thune and to Crapo and say, change it. We can't be for it the way it is. Yes.
Yeah, I just had a similar question. Seeing Senators Curtis and Tillis kind of, have some hesitancies with this. Are there other Republican senators?
We have a list of 16 Republican senators who have shown some discomfort with this, and that's the main group we're focused on. It's much more than the 2 of them. Yes, last one.
Yes, can you talk a little bit, I think you had a breakfast this week with some industry folks. Can you talk a little bit about your plans in the coming days?
Yeah, the industry folks are allied with us. Many of them are on the other side of the aisle. Many of them are just business leaders who are non-political, but they know how damaging this will be to their own companies, to their own employment. So they fanned out yesterday, not with Democrats, we're all against this proposal, but with Republicans. And I spoke to a couple of the people, they're leaders of places, like Duke and Southern, and they were getting good vibes. No commitments, but good vibes. We're going to keep at this and keep at this and keep at this until we get change. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate my colleagues coming.